First of all, my apologies. It is a little noisy here. There's a storm that's just picked up here. I'm pretty close. I'm right on the coast here in Newcastle in Australia. And sometimes you get these storms that just kind of fly through. General Motors is cutting a shift and firing a bunch of staff at its electric car plant in Mexico because Honda does not want to sell more of the Honda Prologue vehicle EVs. I mean, the Honda Prologue is one of the best sales successes for any EV brand in the United States last year. Really good sales numbers for the Honda Prologue. It's a nice car. It's not a Honda, it's a General Motors car. Obviously, it's built at GM's factory, so it's just a rebadged General Motors vehicle. But it's probably a better looking car than the Cadillac Lyriq, which it's based on. But there's a reason why Honda doesn't want to sell too many of them. In fact, I'm guessing most of you know what that reason is. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. How do we frame this? Well, General Motors has cut a shift at its Ramos manufacturing plant in Mexico, where it builds the Chevy Equinox EV and the Honda Prologue. Personally, I don't know. I mean, I like this car, but I'm a little bit embarrassed for Honda. The fact that it's not a Honda at all, just a rebadged GM vehicle. I just think it's sort of like, I don't know, just to me, it feels like you're a car manufacturer with a major brand like Honda and you can't even make your own EV. Anyhow, why is Honda cutting back? It's clearly not because of sales. It's selling really well. General Motors added a third shift in May 2024. And the reason was because, well, they were starting to manufacture the Prologue. Now, Honda actually gave GM a contract to build the Prologue. That contract has ended. Honda has decided to scale back. And the key reason is because it's really more of a compliance car. It's never intended to be a big manufacturer, a big selling car for Honda because it just costs too much money to manufacture. This change is mainly due to a customer Honda's strategy of reducing the production volume of the Prologue model, said General Motors. The shift was added to meet higher export demand for gas engines and Ultium-based EVs like the Chevy Equinox and Blazer EVs and Honda's Prologue. So the reason clearly that Honda are doing this is because they don't make a profit. First of all, General Motors doesn't manufacture EVs at low prices. It doesn't. It doesn't make enough of them. If it was making millions, different story. If it was making millions in China, hell, they'd be cheap as chips. But it's not. It's making relatively small numbers. And I mean, it's in Mexico, but still a lot of the parts are coming from the United States. They're not cheap to make. General Motors does not make a profit on their EVs, the ones that they sell in the United States or Mexico or Canada, and neither does Honda. And Honda's like, well, why are we selling more of these cars when we're not making a profit? GM no longer needs the extra shift in Mexico simply because the company has been instructed by Honda that Honda doesn't want that many of them, even though customers are actually buying them. Apparently, 800 jobs will be lost as a result. Honda say this: it is quite normal for our business to make production adjustments during the year in order to meet customer needs and market conditions. We will continue to carefully manage production and inventory for our entire product lineup to meet anticipated demand in 2025. Now, really what happened here is Honda had a contract with General Motors to build a certain number of EVs. So because Honda knew a certain number of EVs were coming down the production line, they weren't selling enough unless they discounted them to a certain degree. So Honda did put some pretty decent sized discounts on the Prologue. As a result, it started selling really well. Americans started thinking, well, everyone wants the Honda Prologue. It's selling really well. But the key reason for that was Honda was discounting them to well below their cost price. That's the reality here. Now, if that wasn't the case, if Honda was even breaking even, why not keep making them? If you're breaking even, keep on making more of them. People, it's a good brand exercise, right? It makes sense, but they weren't. After delivering the first models in March, Honda's Prologue was one of the best-selling EVs in the United States in 2024. In fact, they delivered more than 33,000 last year, and it means that the SUV was the 7th best-selling electric car in the United States, even though they only began selling them in really probably more the beginning of April when they really started, selling them en masse. And it was still the 7th best-selling EV. I mean, if they'd have been selling it all year, it might have been in the top 3 or top 4. However, Honda doesn't want to continue making a loss. I think that's a mistake. I think Honda needs to sell electric cars. I think if Honda is not selling electric cars at affordable prices, people will buy them from other brands. And Honda will risk becoming obsolete. They'll risk the fact that their products are getting old, and they are. Honda's products are getting old and dated, and Honda's sales are falling, partly as a result of their sales sliding significantly in China. But I honestly think Honda, Nissan, and a few other brands are going to really suffer big time worldwide in 2025. The biggest reason, they don't have dedicated EV production. They don't have any really good EVs where people say, yeah, I want that car. There really isn't anything to rival my car, the Xpeng G6, the new Tesla Model Y Juniper, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, or potentially even cars like a Zeekr 7X. They don't have anything to say, yes, I can't wait to buy a Honda. When's the last time you had someone tell you that? When's the last time you had someone say, hey man, I can't wait to buy that new Honda? Really, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Bye-bye. After filming this video, I realized that I was wrong. The numbers were bigger than what I initially shared in the video. The total number that the US government is giving to automotive companies and South Korea is actually $28 billion worth of loans. Now, most people are unaware of the fact that the government says that General Motors isn't telling you the truth about when it was bailed out of bankruptcy in 2008. The truth is, the government claims that actually cost them $11.2 billion. In fact, the government said they wrote it off their books, $11.2 billion, back in 2014. Joe Biden is rushing through loans to 3 different vehicle companies in America and South Korea for nearly $27 billion. Biden knows there is a high likelihood that a very large percentage of this money will never be returned to the US government, but he doesn't really care because Donald Trump's going to have to be dealing with that. The pro-union Biden administration is rushing through a loan to Ford and South Korean company SK On for just under $10 billion right before Donald Trump takes power. Kind of curious the way this is happening, isn't it? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Ford and SK On want to build a mega battery factory. In fact, several mega battery factories in the United States, but they want to borrow $9.6 billion US from the federal government. Why do they need to borrow that money from the government? That's what I'm curious to know. Well, for one, this will be a sweetheart deal. It'll be, very likely 0% interest, meaning the government will be essentially giving Ford and SK On a part of this $9.6 billion. So if you think that other countries, such as China, are the only countries to subsidize their automotive industry, well, you'd be wrong. Ford and South Korean battery manufacturer SK On are getting an enormous $9.63 billion loan from the US Department of Energy to build 3 battery manufacturing plants in Tennessee and Kentucky for electric vehicles.